this is our next to last session for the year. I'm really excited. I should say Punya Mishra, the Just in Hours are collaborations between the Associate Deans and Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College. We collaboratively plan and facilitate them. Punya Mishra is traveling. I believe he's speaking at a conference about artificial intelligence, which has become his passion recently. And I do believe that Iveta Salova will be joining us shortly. She's wrapping up another in-person session with one of our postdoctoral visiting scholars. So we usually start with an announcement or two. I would just like to remind everyone of our generative AI sessions that we've been holding weekly this semester. And our AI team, several, Janelle White Taylor, Jim Dunnigan, and let's see, Jennifer Werner are the primary facilitators for those sessions. Those of you who are here, actually, those of you who are not at DCU are welcome to attend too, although the coming session is going to be at 4 p.m. our time, which I think will be in the middle of the night for you all. So that might not be a great time, or actually maybe it's very early morning, but I highly recommend the sessions. And I believe this is going to be the last one for the semester. Am that right? Yeah. So great discussion last week on topics ranging from ethics and plagiarism to all sorts of different things. So please do try to join if you've got an interest. So with that announcement, I'd like to jump into the session today. For those who are just joining, just to repeat, the topic for the session today is our Dublin City University Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College partnerships involving, in particular, two of our Learning Futures collaboratives, OASIS and the AI in Education group. To give you a little bit of a broader context for this, you may not be aware that Arizona State University and Dublin City University have had a history of collaboration, and come to find out that more than a decade ago, they entered into something called a Transatlantic Higher Education Partnership. So our collaboration with DCU, and in particular, folks from the Institute of Education at Dublin City University is part of that larger university initiative. This particular collaboration, I think, was sparked by a meeting a couple years ago now that some of us in the Teachers College leadership had in Washington with some faculty and leaders from the Institute of Education. It was very fun and very memorable because we had the opportunity to spend St. Patrick's Day together. So we have some pictures that will not be shared of folks wearing all sorts of greenery and really having a very good time. But we were fortunate to find that we shared a lot of mutual interests. And one thing that we did discuss was trying to work together, particularly around our Learning Futures collaborative structure, to bring folks together, faculty and students, working on those LFCs and faculty with similar interests at the Institute of Education, and see if we could support some collaborations. So we held a mixer for faculty to get together and talk earlier this past academic year, and provided some small amount of funding to groups who are interested in continuing their conversations and working together. And we had two groups who took us up on the offer, applied for funding. And this is actually the first time that we've brought folks together to talk about what they've been able to do so far. And there's been, a fairly short amount of time that they've been working together. but to talk in particular about the focus of their projects, how they're working together, and what they're learning, I think, about collaboration, not, only about what they're learning through their projects. Now we have a large list of participants here, so I'm not going to go through and try to introduce each one of them. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, and then we'll talk collectively about some of these topics. So since there are a large number of folks, I'm going to ask each individual to keep their introduction relatively brief, to introduce yourself professionally. So a little bit about who you are and your scholarly interests. And we always like to add, for folks to add something personal, something outside of academics that they do for fun or relaxation. And also, please note when you're introducing yourself, the LFC that you're involved with or the particular project that you're working on. So with that, I'm going to jump in. I do know that at least one of our participants, Janice Mack, has to leave early. So lucky you, Janice, you get to introduce yourself first. So a little bit about who you are, what your work is professionally, and something about you personally and the LFC or project that you're affiliated with. So Janice.
Thanks, Betty. I'll start with the last one because I remember that first. So I'm involved in the AI LFC, and I'm involved in the project with my co-PI, Ping, and we are doing. I'll put a little bit of text about from our grant proposal. And professionally, I am faculty at the Mary Lou Fulton College, Teachers College, and doing work around computational thinking, AI, ed tech. And my personal interest, I think I said this last time, but I really like cooking. So
That's right, you did, Janice, last time. And I keep thinking we have to do these face-to-face and have people and do a potluck sometime. But thanks, that was a great introduction and very concise. So Ping, since you were mentioned, would you go next and introduce yourself? Say a little bit about yourself professionally as well as personally. And we know you're involved in the AI project with Janice.
Hello, everyone. I'm the co-PI in Dublin City University site, and my team members just go for PIN, P-I-N-G. And this name was, just given by my doctoral supervisor. I did my doctoral degree in the University of Texas at Austin. So I do know a little bit about American culture. And my research interest is in around generative AI, teachers' usage of Gen AI, digital literacy, augmented reality, and virtual reality. So my current research focus just involve these fields. And my personal interest is to do point travel. And point travel means using credit card point to redeem free ticket, air ticket, and free hotel, and this kind of thing. So that's my personal interest. I really enjoy the big sign-up bonus of American credit cards. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. The only trouble with adding these personal touches is I always have follow-up questions. I don't know why I have more follow-up questions on the personal information than the professional ones, but sometime we'll have to talk more about point travel. That's a new phrase for me. So thank you, Ping. Since we're talking about the AI group, Janelle, would you go next with your introduction?
Sure. My name is Janelle White-Taylor. I'm a part of Mary Lou Fulton, a faculty member. I'm a part of also the AI LFC. My research is all AI right now, everything from how teachers are using it, how students are using it, how faculty, how staff, so all things AI. Two things that I really enjoy doing, well, three, I love hiking and being outside, but then also cooking is one of my favorite things. I just got a juicer, so I'm all things juicing right now too.
Okay, I have to restrain myself from asking about juicing, but thanks so much, Janelle. Let me see. Carol Ann, since we were chatting, you were on early. Would you go next and introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm Carol Ann O'Sharon, and I'm from DCU, from the Institute of Education, and in particular the School of Literacy, Language and Early Childhood. I'm an early childhood educator and a primary school teacher, so I kind of carry both I suppose specialisms across the field. I've worked in a number of different settings over the course of my career. And in particular, I went into teacher education in 2008 and have been very happy there, I have to say, since. My area of specialism is in autism teaching and learning, and in particular in relation to families, and how families cope and manage, and how families are the educators of their children in particular, and then the need for families to be highly involved in education. So that's really my area of interest in relation to research. Something about me, well, I think my biggest passion has to be supporting. I have a special needs rugby team, a tag rugby team that I coach every Sunday, and I've been doing that for over 8 years. It's a really important part of my life. We've brought children from very significant disability into ability, which has been really absolutely fantastic. And seeing them manage and cope in quite difficult circumstances is great. And we just won our first league and our first trophy there 2 weeks ago. So we're very excited, and we're going on an international tour in June. We're taking the team on an international tour. So it's very, very exciting. That's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carol-Ann. Really interesting set of activities for sure. So let's see, Sylvia, would you go next?
Hello, everybody. I work with Carol-Ann in DCU in the Institute of Education in a different school. I'm in an inclusive and special education school, and with a few colleagues here, we are with Erin, Melissa, and I'm trying to scan the and Kathy, of course. Yes, yeah. And so we have a project together with looking at experience of inclusion across the special classes across our two jurisdictions. So my expertise, I'm a speech and language therapist professionally, and so my expertise would be language communication, interprofessional, intersectoral work, I suppose participation, children and young people participation as well. That would be a strong interest of mine. I've just developed national guidance here for the Department of Education in Ireland on that. So we will report on our experiences possibly in a while. I don't want to take up too much time.
Thank you so much. Now, I believe there was another partner from DCU, Anna Logan, but I'm not sure I see her.
We have two colleagues. Yeah, we have two more. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned Anna Logan, who is associate professor in our institute, and Aoife Brennan, who is the head of our School of Inclusive and Special Education. And there is also other partners on the Arizona side as well. So we're quite a large project, yes.
Yeah, so Anna, I don't think is here, but Erin, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Erin Rothman Fuller. I'm here in the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College. I'm an associate professor, and my area is mainly autism. I'm here with Project Oasis, and we have a very large group. So we're representing, Kathy and Melissa are here, but we're also representing Jessie Fleming and Juliette Hart-Barnett, who are also a part of this project. And we are lucky to have our collaborators here from DCU as well. We do have a very big group, but it's exciting to see everybody kind of around the one topic together.
That's great. Yeah. And yes, I'm sorry we haven't included everyone in the introductions or as on the list of participants, because these certainly are large team efforts. Kathy, do you just want to jump in briefly and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Hoffman. I also work in the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College. I co-lead Project Oasis with Erin, which is the Optimizing Access for Students in Schools Learning Futures Collaborative. I'm still in my, well, I just finished my first year at ASU, so I still call myself new to academia, so I don't really have a specialization, so to speak, but I am an SLP by training and the former state superintendent for Arizona, so I have a pretty broad perspective and expertise of education in Arizona. And then my personal note, while I don't know if this counts as a hobby, but I am 7 months pregnant. So that's what's on my mind these days, is just getting ready for the baby in June.
And you've timed it reasonably well, so before the real heat hits us this summer. So, Kathy, yes, we know what's taking up your free time. But I also wanted to add, I should have asked Maura, do you want to just briefly introduce yourself, sort of our counterparts in organizing these sessions? Maura.
I'll just introduce myself very briefly because I really want people just to have the time to discuss their projects. Just on behalf of Trina O'Hanlon, who is also on the call, you'll see Trina there. Just to thank ASU, particularly Betty and Punya, for offering us the time today on the just an hour sessions to share work with you. As Betty has said, we've been working together at least 18 months since we met in Washington. And trying to pull something together. As you all know, research takes time. Getting to know people takes time. So it's something that has evolved over time. So we're just delighted to have this opportunity to share virtually in Arizona. And hopefully we will have the opportunity to invite you to a DCU event and an Institute of Education event in the near future. So on behalf of Trina and myself and all our colleagues in DCU, thank you so much for having us today. And we look forward to engaging in more research as well with other colleagues across Mary Lou Fulton. So thanks, Betty.
Thanks so much. Yes, and certainly a shout out to Trina, who has been behind the scenes coordinating all this. So thank you so much. And yes, we're all going to be saving up our points, right, Ping, so that we can do more international travel, I guess. Okay, so let's get into the specifics of the projects that you're working on. And since these are team efforts, some of the questions, I'll ask an individual maybe to kick off, but then others can chime in who are part of that project. So our first question really is, or request is, to tell us a little bit about the specific project that's the focus of your collaboration. And for those folks on the ASU side, how does this project align with the larger goals of your Learning Futures Collaborative? Those folks at the DCU IOE side, how does this align with other initiatives that you might also be pursuing on your side? And Ping, I think I'm going to ask you to start off, if you would.
Yeah. All right, guys, and thank you again. And the research project, and we are working together, and myself and Alan Goldman, another partner, and the other partners, and he's not here today. And we have lovely cooperation so far since October last year. Until now, it's 6 months so far. And so the main focus of our research project is to know how pre-service teachers were using Gen AI for personal, professional, and academic purposes. And in terms of the professional purposes, in this context of our research project, is mainly for lesson planning, as well as other purposes, such as generating ideas, brainstorming, this kind of thing. And so recently, we issued a survey to DCU primary pre-service teachers, including first year, second year, and third year. And so at the moment, we received 114 responses. And after excluding invalid responses, we received 100 responses valid at the moment. And we just conducted a preliminary analysis and we got some interesting findings, and we are going to just briefly cover what we found and so far. And so at the very beginning, and let me see, yeah, I have another page opened at the moment, and I'm not going to share the research paper with everybody, and I just want to be relaxed today. And so during the survey, we asked the pre-service teachers in terms of are they experienced in using Gen AI for personal purposes? When we are saying personal purposes, it involves social networking with the help of Gen AI, or to support personal education, skill development, or language translation, entertainment, daily organization, or creative hobbies. And the response is that 2.48, and because we gave them the 5-point Likert scale. And so 0.1 means strongly disagree. I'm not experienced at all. 0.2 means disagree. 0.3 neutral. 0.4 agree. 0.5 strongly agree. All right. So among the 100 responses, only 2.48 is indicate roughly half-half. So 50% of the participants say, oh, we are experienced. The others say we are not experienced. All right. And for the second purposes of doing academic, it's only 2.24. So which means that in general, they disagreed. They are very experienced of using Gen AI for academic purposes. The academic purposes in this context means using Gen AI to do writing assistance and to tutoring learning assistance, project assistance, cooperation, project assistance, or career preparation. And it's only 2.24. So it's mainly disagreed for the majority of participants. And the final purpose in terms of using Gen AI for supporting lesson planning, the idea generation in terms of teaching, learning, assessment, it's a big surprise. It's only 1.96. So it's very low. All right. So based on the 100 responses, we would say in general, in DCU, our primary pre-service teachers, they don't use Gen AI very much for personal, academic, and professional purposes. And we also move forward to see what's their perceptions in terms of using Gen AI and for opportunity and challenge. And for opportunity, we ask questions such as, I believe the use of Gen AI can save me time in planning lessons. I believe using Gen AI like ChatGPT to write lesson plan can bring originality and creativity in my lesson plans. I'm confident in the accuracy and reliability of lesson plans given by Gen AI like ChatGPT. And we also ask, I believe the use of Gen AI can help me produce a better lesson plan. And finally, we ask, I foresee a long-term adoption of Gen AI tools in the primary education sectors for lesson planning. So these 5 questions is in relation to how our pre-service teachers perceive the opportunities both by Gen AI. And again, we use 5 Likert scale, and the average is 3.31. So which means in general, and they are slightly believed, and Gen AI can bring some opportunities. And next, challenge. How do they perceive the challenges posed by Gen AI? We ask 5 questions to probe their perceptions in terms of the challenges posed by Gen AI. So the first question we ask is that, do you believe Gen AI would undermine the quality of lesson planning? This is question 1. Question 2 is that teachers may become over-reliant on Gen AI for lesson planning. And question 3, Gen AI tools diminish the roles of teachers in the future in terms of lesson planning. And the next one is that I'm concerned about using GenAI tools for lesson planning could have the negative impact on children's learning outcomes. And finally, I'm concerned that the application of GenAI in lesson planning may cause the issues of educational inequality. And the average across these 5 questions in relation to the challenges posed by GenAI, and the average is 3.32. So which means, again, in general, they believe GenAI to believe and some to bring some challenges. So it's quite similar, opportunities and challenges. And next, we ask 2 questions to probe, do our pre-serve teachers, they have any ethical consideration in terms of using GenAI for lesson planning and other professional purposes. So question 1, we ask, do you believe pre-serve teachers need to proactively disclose their use of GenAI in lesson planning in their professional placement, which means student teaching practice? It's 3.44. So which means in general, they believe student teachers, if they use GenAI, they have to say, I use GenAI in general. It's just agreed, and 3.44. And the other question we ask in terms of ethical consideration is that unauthorized use of GenAI tools to complete the lesson planning in professional placement is cheating. And this one is interesting. It's only 2.88. So it's lower than 3, which means in general, they disagree that using GenAI without any disclose is cheating. It's just below 3. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And finally, we ask their need for PD professional placement, professional development for effective use and ethical use of GenAI. We ask 2 different questions. And so in terms of the need of PD for the effective use of GenAI for lesson planning, 3.6. So in general, they agree the need for the PD in terms of the professional placement, PD for effective use of GenAI. In terms of the need for PD of ethical use of GenAI, 4.16. Yeah, so it's higher. So this means in general, they strongly agreed the ethical use should be like acknowledged and should be trained to help themselves to like use GenAI ethically. So it is very interesting compared to the questions in terms of unauthorized use of GenAI is cheating, only 2.88. So here you can see the contradictory. Yeah, so they say, oh, I'm fine if I use GenAI without telling anyone, that's fine. On the other side, they believe they need PD for ethical use of GenAI. Yeah. Okay, so I think, there's one more finding, which is very exciting here. And because we gave the survey to ask if they use GenAI for personal and professional and academic purposes. So we try to run certain correlation analysis to see how their usage of GenAI for personal and academic purposes impact on their perceptions of challenges, opportunities, and ethical consideration. So it's turned out that for those who use GenAI in general for personal purposes, there's no any impact on their perceptions in challenges, opportunities, and ethical consideration. So the implication here is that if I'm using GenAI for social networking, for doing gaming, to do creative hobbies, there's no impact on my perceptions in terms of using GenAI for like challenges, opportunities, and ethical consideration, no impact. By comparison, for those with great experience of using GenAI for academic purposes, such as writing a paper, generating idea for projects, these types of professional use of Gen AI, academic use of Gen AI, they do have strong impact on their perceptions. For example, and for those with great experience in Gen AI, is it positively correlate with their perception of Gen AI can bring loads of opportunities, and negatively correlate their perceptions of Gen AI's challenges. So in this case, this means if I'm using Gen AI for academics, I spot loads of opportunities. I don't spot the challenges. So it's quite positive side. And one more thing, for those with great experience in Gen AI, they don't see any ethical issue of Gen AI for lesson planning. In other words, if I'm using Gen AI a lot for academics, I don't believe using Gen AI without telling my lecture is cheating.
These are fascinating findings, Ping. Yeah, I can tell how excited you are about what you're learning and diving into them in detail. So, so we'll kind of end here, just in the interest of letting the other group report a bit about their work so far, and then we can come out to, kind of come back around to talking about the collaboration and things a little bit more. But this is a really great overview of what you're finding, and I think the findings are of interest to many of us who are working with students and pre-service teachers. So great, thanks so much for the overview. So let me Ship, maybe Kathy, I'll ask you, although there's another member of your group who would also like to share, you can ask them to jump in, but would you care to start just by describing the kind of collaborative work that your group is doing together?
I'll start and then I'll let Erin fill in what I miss. So our two groups from Dublin City University and from ASU, when we were discussing and coming up with this project together, one of the areas of interest for us was studying the different types of classroom models that are out there for students with disabilities. So both of our teams are very interested in studying how to make our schools more inclusive. And while at the same time recognizing the trend that many families choose or enroll their students in what we call more self-contained or more specialized types of programs, such as the autism types of programs, like autism classrooms that exist in many of our schools and in both of our countries. We've noticed that this trend continues to grow, that as we see more and more students diagnosed with autism, we're seeing more classrooms for students with autism. So this raises a lot of questions for us around just wanting to understand the landscape around this. And then in terms of this being a international study, being able to do a cross-cultural comparison of the trends and policies that we're seeing in Ireland and in Arizona. So the way we designed our study was as a qualitative study, because really we want to get people's perspectives, get a lay of the land. And so we haven't started collecting data yet, so we do not have findings, which sounds like the AI team has been really doing a lot of great work in getting their results. But we're planning to start collecting data pretty soon so that we can do the interviews by the end of the school year. And our teams worked together to come up with interview questions, and we collaboratively identified that we want to interview the school leaders, the teachers, the teacher aides, the parents, and the students, which we think will also be really unique in having student voice. And it was really fun to be a part of thinking about how to make even the questions accessible for our student participants, and how we would go about getting permission from the students and their families to have their voice included in this study. So we're really excited to start collecting data, and for our ASU people on the call, we were able to get a partnership going with Phoenix Elementary, because the classrooms we're studying will be in autism classrooms in K-5 schools, so our younger elementary age students. Erin, what did I miss? And then love for the DCU team to jump in as well.
Yeah, I'm going to let the DCU team jump in first so that they can describe their side, and then I can add any context on ours too.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
Well, I don't think there's much to add. You've described so well, Kathy. Yes. So, I think that the focus will be interesting because we are comparing to context, but we are also looking at the voices of all stakeholders, really. So that inclusion of everyone in a study on inclusion was important to us, and that is truly unique, perhaps. Yeah, so we've received ethical approval from our organization, and I know you guys received your institutional approval as well, slightly just a little bit earlier than us. So that was important because we had so many stakeholders, we had children, we had vulnerable populations. So that was a major part of our work for now, and we are ready to collect data in the next couple of weeks, I think.
I think if I can come in, I think the important thing about the study for all of us is that what we will find out about what's happening in these classrooms, because it is a phenomenon, and there is very little out there to actually say if this is the right thing to do or what is the best way forward. So a lot of money is invested from I think both states. It's a huge input to create these classrooms, to organize the training for the teachers, to engage, in this kind of support and provision. But we don't actually have the real understanding of what is going on or what is happening, and does it actually work? Is it inclusive in any way, shape or form, or is it actually creating more barriers to inclusion than we know? So there's a lot in this project. It's a huge project. It's an exciting project. It's actually quite a vibrant set of questions, a real exploration of why we do what we do, and what do we learn from each other. And if we are doing something that maybe might influence other people, that would be great. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, so we did get the IRB approval. We start data collection on Monday, so we don't have results yet to share, Lightning, but we do have a lot of excited teachers, and we have a team of 3 of us going out to the schools, and then others are going to be interviewed online. So we've incorporated a lot of different methods to try and collect this qualitative data.
Erin, you're always 1 or 2 steps ahead of us. We are not that close to our data collection, but we're not too far behind you. It's like the ethics as well. But I think it'll be a great study. Like it is a small scale, I suppose, in terms of looking at a small number of schools in both jurisdictions, but actually it's going to generate such rich descriptive data and insights into the lived experience of all these stakeholders that I think will be really of interest to the research world and to schools and educators and indeed higher education institutes as well. So I think it's going to be really worthwhile, and it will, I suppose, generate a significant contribution to knowledge.
I think that's one of the exciting things about it, is that it actually has the potential to transform, our practices, and then obviously transform the experiences of the autistic community that we work with, and the community of children with mild general learning disability, etc. So I think it is a really exciting project.
Great. Yeah, both projects are really exciting. I would agree. And Avetta has arrived here. I asked Avetta if she would like to jump in and pose the next prompt or question. Thanks.
That would be wonderful. And congratulations to everybody on these exciting projects. I am, in addition to being a professor, I also serve an Associate Dean of Global Engagement, and I'm just personally thrilled that finally this partnership between DCU and ASU is getting off the ground. And we also have another maybe side partnership, well, not side partnership, but another important link with some of the colleagues in DCU working on sustainability, including Charlotte Holland, who also was here just a few weeks ago. And but I would love to, you already touched on this issue a little bit, but I would love to ask you to talk a little bit more about the benefits of working across institutions and across national borders on these projects. How does this collaboration affected how you understand the problem or the issues at heart of your work? How has it affected the types of questions that you're asking, how you approach data collection, or other aspects of this work? I'm also, by training, a comparative education scholar. So I love cross-national collaborations like this. So if you can talk a little bit about what this cross-national collaboration offers and how it then enriches your work, it would be really insightful.
And maybe we should call on someone.
Yeah.
Like Janelle, who hasn't said anything yet. Janelle.
Well, thank you. I think one of the things that when we first started talking about this, thinking about AI and generative AI, I was really curious to see how it was affecting other countries, other students. And I think one of the things that was really exciting in working with Ping and other colleagues was just really hearing the same stories that we were talking about. It wasn't, I always wondered, we've heard stories about other countries being more ahead or the acceptance being different in different places. So really walking through the survey, because we designed the survey together, and going through kind of line by line and discussing a survey, discussing questions was really exciting for me, because I think we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what our instrument should look like, and to have a perspective that was at a different university and in a different country was even more exciting, because then we got to see, okay, the problems that we're seeing or the things that we're seeing are almost the same as what they're seeing in Ireland. So it was nice to see. It also gave me a way of looking at it for our group to look kind of really globally, just not just based in Arizona or thinking about the United States, but thinking across all of the borders and looking at education and pre-service teachers as a whole. So I think that was really exciting. I think one of the things I really enjoyed was our collaboration. And right now we're looking at the data that Ping has pulled from DCU. We're collecting more data in the fall with ASU, but stretching that out and then everyone commenting back and forth. So I think that's kind of the cool part, is now I have a colleague that's not only outside the United States, but doing something really cool in the same area that we're in. So I see this collaboration going further and really looking at how can we do more together to look at what's happening within our different countries. And I don't know if Jen or Melissa want to add more to that. So if they want to.
Please add. I think it would be fascinating to hear.
Yeah,
And even Ping.
I echo same thoughts about the collaboration and the insight. I'm looking forward to seeing the student perceptions and if they are similar or different, the perceptions of how AI can be used or is currently being used, as well as if they have shared ethical considerations surrounding the use of generative AI. And would love to see where our next steps go, because I think it's a great partnership, not for in singularity, but for extending on.
It's wonderful. Any of the colleagues from DCU, would you like to comment too, maybe?
Yeah, I would just add a little bit more. I think in addition to the excellent point covered by Janelle and Melissa, I think, and because we spent tons of time trying to tinkering and fine tune the survey instruments line by line, literally, we spent 7 weeks or 8 weeks doing online cooperation, going through every single stuff. I think the biggest cooperation, the point benefit is that, and because this field is relatively new, and we don't really know how student teachers are using Gen AI for the moment, especially in DCU, because for us, we are early stage of doing this field. So I really appreciate experience shared by my lovely ACU partners in terms of what's the purposes for students to use Gen AI, which to expand the all possibilities for the usage of Gen AI into the questionnaire. And we also fine tune and doing proofreading, review the literature, review the survey together, which is very, very beneficial because we can share the intellectual exchange together, which is lovely.
I think it does inform. The results are absolutely, exciting in the fact that we're seeing a lot of curiosity around the tool, but we're not seeing a lot of use and adoption of it yet. So it is going to inform how we go forward with our training and with our tools and our resources that we produce for these groups of people to use in their classrooms.
That sounds amazing. And it already sounds like a major learning that's happening both ways, right? And I can't wait to see what you will come up with and how it also will affect the, curriculum and pedagogies and programs that you're all leading. But what about the other research group?
Yeah, my name's Aoife. I suppose from my perspective, I feel like it's been really eye-opening because, I suppose as a researcher, academic, obviously you try to immerse yourself in the international field and literature, but you don't really have that insight outside your own context. So working with our colleagues, Erin and Kathy are here and other colleagues from ASU, it's been really eye-opening in terms of the perspectives from their own context, in particular when it comes to inclusive and special education, which is quite a contested area. So that's been really valuable. And even like the terminology that's favoured by communities in their context and in our context and kind of the shifting landscapes. There's a lot of parallels, but then there are nuances and differences. So it's really enriching to be able to collaborate with colleagues, from the ASU context. And obviously it's going to deepen our insight and expertise even more as we progress and collect data and analyse it and so on. And publish all those wonderful papers as well.
I know. Wonderful. Kathy and Erin, would you like to add anything?
I would agree. It is, it's nice to see the similarities across contexts as well as the differences. I think, we kind of come in with so many assumptions based on just our experience in our own schools and being able to hear kind of what are the challenges going on there and how similar a lot of them are, but kind of the orientation to inclusion and the orientation to the classrooms, is similar, but yet, we struggle with policy differences. We struggle with, kind of orientation in communities. And so figuring out where those differences are really help us to more critically evaluate it and more critically kind of think about, well, what are the options and think more broadly out of that box of, well, we know what these are the options that we've tried here, but we haven't always considered other things. So that's been a nice way of kind of pushing our own ideas here about what options how deeply we want to dig in, what options we might have that are different.
That's fascinating. Oh my goodness. And I just wanted to say, I think today officially ASU announced that the global perspectives are part of the Gen Ed requirement right now. So there is a 3-credit requirement in the Gen Ed. Well, there is one also on sustainability and one on global perspectives as well. So I'm actually really excited to see how these types of collaborations can also contribute to shaping the curriculum, because I'm absolutely, convinced that it would be invaluable for students to hear all the, different, to learn in a broader context, because often these international collaborations actually really help us, as you already alluded, help us understand our own context even better, right? And puts things in a perspective in a different way. Fascinating. Anybody else? Or should I hand it over to Betty for the next question? Oh my goodness, we're going to run out of time.
Oh, we still have a few more minutes. So I was going to just pause and ask if there's another question or comment that anyone else would like to pose. And that would include questions from one group to the other group. So if you have a question for the other group, feel free to ask that now, before we kind of move on to wrapping up. Any other questions, comments, folks, that you have? So I'm so bad at wait time, I always say, and I found that educators are really good at not worrying about wait time and just sitting there. It's just amazing how good you are. So, so I'm going to jump in because this is also a question, that's kind of from a practical perspective, interesting to me. So what's been important to, both generating and sustaining these collaborations for you all? What would be important supports that we could provide in continuing them? And if there's been challenges, how have you addressed them? So, and I'll first start. Does anyone care to just jump in with a particular response before I call on you?
I think there have been some practical things that have really helped us, and then maybe some thoughts for like how other future collaborations could also learn from our groups. I think it was really wonderful that there's funding tied to these projects, because just being able to, for lack of a better word, incentivize the collaboration. I think just tying money to it really adds, priority to it, to help us have resources to leverage the partnerships that we needed to make this go here locally in our communities. So I think that was a huge plus. I think it was helpful that there were deadlines tied to it, like any project, but that really did help us in thinking about our timelines. I know because the time difference was a challenge, I think, even today, right? I feel so bad for our Irish counterparts being on the call so late. But so, just juggling, because then when we were coming up on, we need to hop on a call together, but it's not easy when you're like, oh, wait, we have to get on as early as possible. They're probably getting on as late as possible to make it happen. So I think, that can be difficult, because there were times when the conversations were so critical to talk things through, look at things together, clarify, especially because we do use different language for different things. And even, we're trying to talk about the same things, but there's just different words, different terminology that's being used. So I think being able to have the conversations were so critical. And then because we put together an ASU team, and then we put together the DCU team and brought it all together, our group was pretty large, which also created some just, again, kind of logistical challenges when we're trying to get everyone on the same page and get everybody's input. So that was just something else I would note, was having a lot of collaborators at time, just because then there could be sometimes a lot of back and forth. Everyone's hitting reply all, trying to make sure we're all on the same page. So those are just some of the things I would note, but by far all the benefits outweigh any of those logistical challenges. I just thought it was worth noting some of the pieces that helped us move along, and then some of the logistical challenges that are just bound to happen.
And I'm noting all of these because we are about to start working on our global engagement strategy. And so I think this is super, super helpful in terms of also planning some funding for the future to support collaborations like this. So I'm all ears too.
Others like to jump in with your perceptions, particularly maybe from the AI group, since we've heard a little from Kathy before we wrap up.
I would have to echo what Kathy just said. I think that the funding, it was very helpful, really bringing in either a student or a graduate student to help with some of the data, or even helping with some of the IRB pieces. That was really helpful. But I think the one thing that I found from this, which now I feel like everything I want to do, I want more global aspects to it, just because it enriches what you're doing and it gives you a larger perspective, and it helps you around AI. There's so many different questions, there's so many different use pieces, and there's so much happening that it was nice to hear what was happening somewhere else that was outside of where we're normally looking and thinking. So for me, it gave us a whole new dimension. And also, I hate to say a forever partner. I hope Ping agrees that, we're working together in this space for a bit, just because it definitely opens up what you're able to do. And you get to for our instrument, we get to see what does it look like in Ireland? What does it look like in Arizona? We're looking at, a larger study around this, pulling in people from other parts of the United States, but it's nice to have that global reach and look at other people that are globally that we can work with, because it definitely enhances the study and it gives you more of a perspective that you've never thought of before. So I feel like I've jumped into that global pool and I don't want to get out. So I'm very excited about this.
Iveta, you have a convert.
I know. I just texted separately. Janelle said, I will be quoting you. I think more people should hear it.
That's great. But yes, very well put, Janelle. So, Iveta, we've got just a few minutes left. Do you have any final comments or things you just would like to add before we wrap up?
I just wanted to congratulate everybody on such an exciting start. I mean, the level of enthusiasm is palpable, even through Zoom. So it's really, really exciting that these collaborations and partnerships are forming in such a beautiful way, in such a powerful way. And I hope that we can make sure that we continue to support these in meaningful ways on both sides, and also figure out the ways to meet in person at some point too for these research teams. So huge congratulations to everybody, and please let us know, because the timing is actually really perfect right now too. If anybody of you have any other ideas about the types of support we can provide to make sure that these partnerships are thriving, please share with us. In small or big ways.
Yes, please do. And I will actually say before Maura, who had to step off to greet her guests, she sent me a message and said, we have to meet to talk about getting more groups involved in this. So for sure, we're going to be following up. And again, I'll just echo what Iveta said. Congratulations to the groups. This is far beyond what I think, even had anticipated you'd be able to do in a short period of time with, again, limited funding. So we're really looking forward to continuing to support you and hopefully getting some other folks involved, kind of spreading the global message about it. So yeah. And with that, I think we're just about at the end of our hour. And a small reminder for those of you in particular here at ASU, our next and last session next Friday, we will devote to planning topics and hosts for the next academic year. So hope to see a lot of you then. Thanks so much. And I guess we'll let our DCU counterparts go back to their evening, what's left of it, and everyone else have a great afternoon and enjoy the weekend. So thanks again for attending.